Oh, I had the mic muted. Oh, such is life. So there's a whole bunch of skewed perspective on what masculine and feminine energy is: more emotional, free-flowing energy, more direct, straight-line energy, rigid, flexible. We can look at it in these qualities. These are the dualistic qualities we were talking about in the earlier part of this chapter. And understanding those aspects within our physical body and also within our mental state. How do we respond to certain things in reality? How does a situation come up? Are we taking a masculine response? Are we trying to assert what we feel is right? Or are we taking a feminine response, setting back and understanding what this different perspective could possibly be? And maybe, is it helpful to me? Can I move with it? And that's that whole submissive aspect. I'm just going to, no, I'm going to accept this world and see how I can move within it and move through it. So, so that's what pranayama is all about. The seated observation of the breath in a systematic way is a mirror in which we can look at ourselves as we do in asana. So the point of the seated meditation is to give us a basis of how we're breathing, because the energy isn't riled up like in a flow class. It's just straight, plain, and simple in front of you. All right. I have a good awareness of it. I took time. I did these reps, and now I have these experiences because I can go back in my mind and remember what was going on. What was I feeling? Not just, oh, I'm breathing, but maybe I felt the breath reach higher. Maybe I felt like a pop or a crack or some type of movement or adjustment within the body. Maybe my mind is correlating something different to it. So these are, some of the things that we can think about to connect the mind, body, and breath. When you're in a stressful situation, it's possible to regulate your breath so you can relax. I was asked recently if I get nervous when I speak in front of people, and in the past I was petrified because I was overly self-conscious and extremely insecure. I gauged my self-image by other people's perceptions, so I had a lot invested in what people thought of me. My breathing was shallow, it held tightly in my chest. I would calm myself down by doing a set of pranayama before speaking in groups, which helped at the time. Now, as you can see with writing this book, I'm not so worried about what anyone thinks about how I feel. So regulating my breath gave me some space. And it was temporary relief, but my mind could recreate the tension again at any moment. Now, and that's another key aspect of learning how to control our breathing and our breath, because that's exactly true. At any time, generally, if we're not using the breath work to let tension go in our body, to soften our body, our physical mass, then at any time that tension that we let go of from like a one-off yoga class, let's say you practice yoga like once a week, right? That one-off yoga class, that tension can be recreated back into our body very easily, very quickly, because we're only taking 1 day a week, 1 hour out of like 172 to just relax, to stretch and open up those the mesofascia in the body, which is what holds a lot of tension, which holds a lot of muscle trauma and small tissue. We can get into this another time. We're gonna get into this on Thursday. Ooh, I digress. However, doing like a daily practice, practicing yoga asana like you brush your teeth in the morning. This is just what I do. This is like detoxing the inner organs. This is how I detox my mind when I meditate. That will allow us to understand how we are subconsciously re-triggering that muscle, that tension in the body, and get to a point where you can feel it coming on and stop it before it gets there. That awareness of that moment helps astronomically. Like just that awareness of that moment, you can realize when that's happening in any situation or whatever it is that you do. So it's just a useful tool. Now my breathing is so calm. Now my breathing is relaxed and calm naturally, which allows me to access unlimited resources within effortlessly. True pranayama has become part of my life. The tool of sitting, watching the breath, and counting is no longer necessary. Of course, I still do formal sittings to aid in a particular situation or health reasons. Sometimes I like to do a set at 4:20 a.m. and a set at 4:20 p.m. just to shift my reality. I like to do a set at 4:20 too. When I am free from my mind, I become a conduit, a vehicle, an instrument of the divine, watching the cosmic comedy that is my life. And I swear to you, a cosmic comedy at its finest. Ha! By the way, have you heard of the Eighth Chakra? I call it the crown chakra. You know, it's the image of this funny-looking character with a big red nose, wild and crazy multicolored hair with baggy clothes and big floppy shoes. When this chakra is open, all the other 7 open as well. You become ecstatically happy, and it happens quite spontaneously. This is when you realize how silly you've been your whole life. You begin to laugh uncontrollably, a deep Buddha belly laugh. It sounds like Santa, but whatever. At how you've been chasing a dream when all along you had everything you could have ever dreamed of right now. This is the nature of the fool. He acts like a fool on the outside, but deep down, he is full of wisdom. He has a joy from a realization of life is a big cosmic joke. God has played the ultimate trick on us all by hiding within, the very place we consistently refuse to look. We go on wandering for years, if not lifetimes, looking everywhere outside when we only had to look inside. That's fucking funny. A sense of humor. If you were going to hide something, how clever is that? Right under the very nose. So, if you're just tuning in with us on any of the streaming platforms, welcome. It's Monday Night Floating Yoga Fundamentals Book Club. We're reading The Only Way Out Is In. It's an awesome book, giving us an idea of how to restructure our health and wellness and put the power of healing back into our own hands. Boom. The author, Anthony Prem Carlisi, dope guy, got an awesome ashram. I'm going to go check him out in Bali. I recommend you do too. So, the next chapter, page 152, some interesting yoga research about breathing. There's an institute in India called Kavaladhama. We're going to go with that, which discovered some very interesting facts about breathing. You know the place I described earlier where I learned all the crazy cleansing practices? They did research on how different postures and breathing exercises affect the nervous system, using modern scientific instruments in the protocols to measure their effects. There is a system inside each of us that regulates the automatic bodily functions, like your heart beating, digestion, and breathing, called the autonomic nervous system. Involuntary. This system is so wired to function automatically. One part of the autonomic nervous system is breathing. We don't have to tell ourselves to breathe, yet we have the ability to control our breath. So as much as it is involuntary operation, it is also voluntary as well. That is a powerful statement. That realization. Just as much as it is involuntary, it is voluntary as well, which means you have a choice. This is your choice to activate your growth, your evolution. This is your choice to make the effort to do it. That's it. But that option, the power of choice, when the power's in your own hands, ooh, what could you do with it? I continue. One part of the autonomic nervous system is breathing. We don't have to tell ourselves to breathe, yet we have the ability to control our breath, so as much as it is an involuntary operation, it is also a voluntary one. At the Institute, they observed how yogis, through their breathing, tapped into this nervous system. By learning how to control their breathing, the yogis were able to slow their heartbeat down to the point where it was barely pumping. They could put a spike through their arm and remove it, and there'd be no bleeding. These individuals were buried alive for 3 days, and they were very much alive at the end of that time. They were able to directly affect their autonomic nervous system through controlling the breath. When you connect your nervous system through the breath, you have mastery over your body and mind. That's why pranayama is so important. But it has to come naturally, not forcing it. There is sometimes benefit in controlling the breath, but if you're not ready, it can hurt you. And that's why many yoga books caution the reader to not do pranayama or breath control without a teacher, especially when holding the breath for long periods of times. Pressure builds up in the body, similar to pressure in a pressure cooker, and it can blow out a weak organ or tissue. It's like playing with fire. If your body is not prepared properly and the channels are not clear, you can damage it, especially if the organ is weak. Again, that's why you have to be healthy, and that's important to not do strong pranayama until the body is ready. However, simple breathing exercises to bring overall better health and affect the quality of the mind are okay. And those are the ones we do Thursday. So tap in with us Thursday. We're building up a breathwork sequence that you can do, again, just like you brush your teeth, just like you do the poses, you do the breathwork, clean out your sinuses, your nasal passages. Yeah. And that's on breathwork. I feel like that was a really great section, a really great chapter, something to really sit and munch on. The next one is, one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. It's Pratyahara. The next step, or the fifth limb in Ashtanga Yoga, is called Pratyahara. This is a very interesting word that often is misunderstood. Pratyahara means turning back to the source. It usually gets translated as withdrawal of the senses. Turning back to the source is a beautiful way to put it. And recognizing that our energy is constantly leaking out, we can understand how Pratyahara is a valuable step in redirecting it in. Quick monologue: the turning back to source, withdrawal of the senses, I like to use them both at the same time because it creates like a space for me to explain it a little bit more finite. Withdrawal from senses, I like to use that first because when we withdraw from the sense, we have a better accurate gauge when it starts to come back in. It's like if you're in a room with a whole bunch of background noise, you don't really know that there's a whole bunch of background noise. It sets like a new level. If you're doing like sound engineering, that would be like that'd be like 0, or that'd be like, what do they call it? Like normalized or some other fun stuff, right? So as we start to turn stuff back in, we have an awareness of, oh, there was a bird I heard. Oh, there is rain. Oh, there are cars, instead of just hearing everything all at once. So that's why I like turning back to the source, because then that gives us a focus for the mind, because what we're doing is allowing our mind to return to the source by it's allowing our mind to withdraw from the senses, so we can return that extra energy that's going to those other places or used to block out certain things that we're trying to avoid. We can use that energy to then build up for whatever it is we want to do, back to the source, back to us. They got some other ones, but he dropped that in the book. I'll read that. Since it is necessary to redirect the force of energy inward and upward, it's easy to see why Pratyahara gets translated as turning away from the world. Yogic texts that emphasize you must withdraw your senses from the world are basically saying don't enjoy sensual pleasures, because that's not yogic. Utter nonsense. Strongly support that. Utter nonsense. Enjoy the pleasures. What else are we here for? Goodness gracious. We want to enjoy the time we have, dag blasted. But we also want to work too. We also want to get some stuff done, get some things accomplished. The secret is the world doesn't use you up. Your mind does. Everyone is operating from the mind. So there you have it. If you want to identify the devil, that's it. It's not this mythical creature with horns in its head. It's our mind that has conjured up a demon within. This has created living hell on earth as opposed to Christ's heaven on earth. Therefore, we can't point an accusing finger to say that the world is screwed up. Existence is what it is. It's simply that there is it's simplicity just in that rawness. And that's how we create it in our minds, and it's how we recreate it in our minds that matter, and how we participate in it the most. This will determine whether we screw up the world. This will determine whether we screw up the world. We have a choice, but it is not possible to remedy the situation if the direction you are taking is opposite to the direction you need to go. There are many problems, but only one necessary solution. Herein lies the solution to all our woes. Head in the direction of source. Go within. Since we were young, we've been fed contradictory information, leaving us never sure what is true and what is not. We go on believing superstitious lies, trusting adults that have perpetuated them out of fear and denial, but mostly out of ignorance. And look around the globe. Do I have to spell out the madness that is printed in every newspaper and magazine around the world? Utter confusion based on no substance, all rooted in what the ancients called Maya, the illusion, the myth that life is the way it is, based on what we know from our minds, which is crazy. And that is crazy. If the only thing we think this world is the things that we know, then that means it might as well be done. Nothing else new can come from it. Like dead, like done. That's dry. I don't believe that. I believe it's like infinite possibilities, because every time I think I thought of everything, someone says something and it just allows me to just realize that I didn't know shit. There's like a million different options that I still could have come up with after the 12 million that I thought of my damn self. I'll get lost in that forever. Okay. Our mind interprets the sensory information and turns it into a belief system that we grow up with as Christian, Buddhist, European, American, Asian. We have 5 senses that are fundamentally opening for experiencing the world. Your eyes are windows, your ears are openings for sound to enter. All your skin is meant to feel sensation. Your taste is for perceiving what nourishes you and what doesn't. Your nose is for allowing fragrance of whatever scent to enter and penetrate your being. Pratyahara is a turning of your senses inward. Simply to experience is to become like a child once again. Turning your senses inward. So those external senses that we have, sight, that he just went through, your eyes, those windows, your skin, that touch, taste, smell, sight, all those fun things. We have those internally as well. We'll be talking about this on the Halloween getaway this weekend. Halloween getaway, hey, Halloween getaway, hey, Halloween getaway, hey. It's happening. I'm excited. Yeah, we're gonna be going into that. Polarities of light. Oh, how the white light, the exterior world, this world right here, of this physical matter, of this mass, this dense material. Ooh, that's good. I want another sip. And the dark light, the darkness, the black light, that spirit world where you close your eyes but things still exist, but they kind of move a little different because they don't care what happens in the white light, because they're in all of the light, which we will go a little bit deeper into on the Halloween Yoga Getaway. There might be some more stuff where we talk about colors, perception, and how the eye receives light, which will give us a better idea of how we are fixated in this world and how we are very visual creatures. But that's getting off topic. We back to the book. Okay, Dharana. The 6th limb of Ashtanga Yoga is Dharana, which is translated as concentration. Pranayama is the bridge you've crossed over after the mind. Pranayama is the bridge you've crossed over between the mind and body. Pratyahara brings you to the gate or the door where you're ready to enter the vast world within. Then it's possible for concentration to take place. Before this preparation, it's not possible. You may have glimpses, but then you quickly fall back asleep. Dharana brings your awareness to the point like a laser beam. Now you have a direction of your consciousness. Your energy is not dispersed in many directions. It's focused and concentrated. It takes you to the goal. And what's your goal? In yoga, it's to go in and up. It's possible to abuse the power you gain through these practices. Hitler read the Vedic texts. He explored many esoteric practices along with becoming a vegetarian. He performed rituals and produced symbols like reversing the swastika, not reversing, slightly turning it on its edge to notate that it is power, because the swastika is power, and rotating it on its edge means it's on the move. So that was the indication. I digress. That has nothing to do with this. Actually, it does. But we'll continue. It made it extremely charismatic and convincing in the eyes of the German people. The culture at the time felt weak and powerless from the effects of World War I. So any sense of relief was welcome. Even the horrid one offered by Hitler, the dark forces versus the light force. Patanjali warns us about the alluring power gained by harnessing this energy from yoga in its entire chapter called the Vibhuti Pada. Let's go with that. He states that there are incredible powers available, but to be careful not to get sidetracked as you progress along the path of yoga. Scientists talk about harnessing energy. Einstein understood how to generate energy, which was resulted in the development of the atomic bomb. He later expressed his regret in playing a part in developing a means to unleash the atom's awesome power after the bomb was used to kill so many people in Japan. With great power comes great responsibility. What we're doing in this Ashtanga yoga is not to explode, but to implode, which brings that energy higher up and within. Dhyana. The seventh limb in yoga, Ashtanga yoga, is dhyana, which means meditation. And let me go and take a sip. Meditation. So sometimes we'll get these a little bit mixed up. The last one was concentration, just being able to like focus for a moment. And this one is meditation. So this can be misinterpreted. Meditation is not something that you can force upon yourself. It has to happen naturally. If you're not ready for meditation, you will just sit there thinking about sex, money, pain, your body, 1,000 other things. You're not prepared. Dhyana means it happens spontaneously. It is in the flow and effortless. You have done the necessary steps, the yamas, the niyamas, the asana, the pranayama, the pratyahara, the dharana, and you have concentrated all your energies in one direction, so the possibility for dhyana has arrived. Now you're right. All your energies are gathered up and focused. You're at the door aware, fully awake and ready to soar. It is this continual flow of consciousness in the direction of God, the original self, the witnessing presence, that is dhyana. So dhyana is beyond form, beyond time and space. And when you sit in meditation, you disappear into the world. I have had this experience of wondering where I am as I return back to my body from sitting in meditation. I'll look up at the clock and see 3 hours have flown by. I've had this happen many times as well in writing of this book, disappearing into my portal only to come back many hours later. I've sat for a few minutes that I felt like an eternity. The majority of my meditations have involved a lot of struggling. Facts on facts. That's why I had to do Ashtanga. I had to get the moving meditation so then my mind could get used to that meditative state, and then I can like kind of cross-reference and pull from that meditative state from a moving place and connect it to a meditative place or a different feeling while still. Long process that we can do once you sign up for one of the private consults or the virtual consults. I do have virtual 30-minute consults available in 4-packs. We go over all of this stuff. We can set up your own routine and check-ins as well. Accountability, make sure you're doing it. And you can also just jump in the morning meditation chat too, the morning meditation vibes. It's things happening, yo. Check out my website. Okay, I'm back. Oh, actually, I wanted to say another thing about... I'll get there. The momentum of thoughts was very strong, and the tension in my body left me feeling exhausted. I was not fully prepared to let go and drop in. You can only create a situation for meditation to happen. There's a deep wakefulness as the final step is dissolving. You are waiting for that final meeting and that melting and merging. The object has dropped and the subject has not fallen asleep. It is as the witnessing is present. You never know when it'll come out, but you never know when it will come out, and what will remain is your ever-present being, like a gold miner picking away, searching for gold. He keeps going no matter what, because he never knows when he will strike it rich. The last one is Samadhi. Samadhi is interesting. I kind of like to look at it when we were going over the 4 dimensions of the mind. I kind of like to look at it as like a blissful state of shitas. That like flow state that you're in. But that's what I say. Let's see what he's saying in the book. We're on page 157 and the only way out is in. The last limb of Ashtanga is called Samadhi, which means fully dissolved. Life is not a question. It is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery onto which one dissolves oneself. Once again, I bring out this beautiful phrase to demonstrate what we are here for. This is Samadhi, the drop. Your consciousness merges with the infinite sea of consciousness. If you could follow an actual raindrop falling into the ocean, you would be able to see it touch the water and dissolve instantly, becoming part of the ocean. That at point you cannot distinguish that drop from any other. This is called Maha Samadhi. Dhyana is the process of dissolving oneself. The mystery includes as one dissolves themselves completely and disappears into the ocean. There are many types of samadhi which give us glimpses of this fully dissolved state. I could imagine it as God's way of testing us to carry it out to the end. Here is an inspiring account of Swami Paramahansa Yogananda's glimpse of Samadhi from his book called Autobiography of a Yogi. That's a good one too. Yeah, go and check that out. Autobiography of a Yogi. Yeah, and Dharma has another one too. The Life of a Yogi. That's another good one. Go and check that one out too. He lived the Autobiography of a Yogi. He lived the final days of his life in Cintas in California, where I began my journey with Ashtanga Yoga. I spent many a day in his ashram along the magnificent coast of the Pacific Ocean, sitting in deep contemplation, feeling the peaceful surroundings of me in the presence of the saints who walked along the same path. Do I want to read the... Yeah. All right. So this is like a telling of it. And, he be mentioning Osho. Osho, I might be taking clips of the Osho Joan next after we finish this book. It's between that or like the Matrix of Reality, something like that. Reality's Matrix. I don't know. It's one of the other books I got at the house. Okay, so here's like a telling of the yoga of the Swami's experience of glimpse of Samadhi. My body became immovably rooted. Breath was drawn out of my lungs as if some huge magnet. Soul and mind instantly lost their physical bondage and streamed out like a fluid piercing from my every pore. The flesh was as thought dead, yet in my intense awareness, I knew that never before have I been fully alive. My sense of identity was no longer narrowly confined to a body, but embraced the circumambient atoms. People on distant streets seemed to be moving gently over my own remote periphery. The roots of plants and trees appeared through a dim transparency of the soil. I discerned the inward flow of their sap. The whole vicinity lay bare before me. My ordinary frontal vision was now changed to a vast spherical sight, simultaneously all perceptive. Through the back of my head, I saw men strolling far down Raiga Road and noticed also a white cow who was leisurely approaching. When she reached the space in front of the open ashram gate, I observed her with two physical eyes. As she passed beyond the brick wall, I saw her clearly still. All objects within my panoramic gaze trembled and vibrated like quick motion pictures. My body masters like a pillared courtyard. The furniture and floor, the trees, the sunshine occasionally became violently agitated until all melted into a luminescent sea. Even as sugar crystals thrown on a glass of water dissolve after being shaken, the unifying light alternated with materialization of form. Metamorphosis revealed the law of cause and effect in creation. An ocean of joy broke upon calmness shores. An oceanic joy broke upon calmness in calm, endless shores of my soul. Goodness gracious, he's writing his ass off right here. An oceanic joy broke upon calm, endless shores of my soul. The Spirit of God, I realized this exhaustless bliss. His body is countless tissues of light. A swelling glory within me began to envelop towns, continents, and earth, solar and stellar systems, tenuous, nebulous, and floating universes. The entire cosmos gently luminous, like a city seen afar at night, glimmered without an an infinitude of my being. The sharply etched global outline faded somewhat at the farthest edges. There I could see a mellow radiance ever undiminished. It was indescribably subtle, but the planetary pictures were formed gross and light. So if you see, these are a whole bunch of different metaphors and similes of that dissolution, not just of the body, but also of like our consciousness of our mind, that expansion from seeing things in 2 dimensions like it's here, it's flat, to seeing things in to seeing things in 3 dimensions, because we don't really, like how he was saying, that spherical sight. 3 dimensions, not just seeing things on a flat surface, like it's just on a piece of paper in front of our eyes, in front of us. The divine dispersion of rays poured from an eternal source, blazing onto galaxies, transfigured with ineffable auras. Again and again, I saw the creative beams condense into constellations, then resolve into sheets of transparent flame. By rhythmic reversion, sextillion worlds passed into diaphanous lusters. Fire became ferment. I cognized the center of the Imperium as a point of intuitive perception in my heart. Irradiating splendor issued from my nucleus, every part of my universal structure. Bliss and nectar of immortality pulsed through me with quick fire and fluidity. The creative voice of God I heard resounding in Om, the vibration of the cosmic creator. Pause. Om, those 3 sounds are the 3 base sounds the human vocal cords can make without the use of the tongue. So, like, think about people who do not have the articulation of the tongue. Think about deaf people. What sounds do they make? And it's vibrating from different parts of our body. One is open, we're just getting from the belly, just wah. Then the O is from the top, we're like, oh, it's from the throat. And then the is from the forehead to the tip of the nose, to the tip of the lips. And you can feel that vibration. So it's bringing from the ground up, from the root chakra to the crown, and that's energy. That's that's the whole concept of it. And that's how the elements got here, which we'll be talking about on Halloween. Last paragraph. Suddenly, the breath returned to my lungs with a disappointment almost unbearable. I realized that my infinite immensity was lost. Once more, I was limited to the humiliating cage of a body, not easily accommodated to the spirit. Like a prodigal child, I had run away from a macrocosm home and imprisoned myself in a narrow microcosm. So he's saying, after this experience of like touching Samadhi, the body just doesn't do it. It's so confining, it's so limiting. It's like, oh, you can only go as far as your skin stops. That far right there. No more. Well, you got joints, you got bones. You don't want to break them, so you're not able to go that way unless there's other ways that we can use our body once we tap into that autonomic nervous system and start to alter the DNA. I digress. Each enlightened being, whether it be Patanjali, Buddha, Christ, Krishna, Osho, had their own way of expressing the divine. They lived in a state of pure ecstasy. The word ecstasy comes from the root ekstasis, means to stand outside oneself, which is what happens when we have an experience that is too powerful for the body to contain. These beings were perfect examples of consciousness expressing itself through the full potential of the human form. Out of compassion for others, these beings gave back by sharing their light in a global way, pointing us into the direction of our true nature. In my eyes, this is how the Yoga Sutras came to be. I know there are many other enlightened ones living right here and now on this planet, spreading their love in simple ways with pure intentions. Quite unassuming, unrecognizable as a Buddha or a Christ, they may be your next door neighbor or even a homeless guy on the street. How can we truly tell until we are there ourselves? Otherwise, it's maybe just ego. Oh, I want to be there, but This is your birthright as a human being, to merge with the source and recognize your divinity. Each of us, one way or another, is on our own personal journey, and the dissolution of the individual ego. After all, what else are we here for? Ashtanga Yoga is one particular way the ancient yogis lived and shared the light that was and always there, to which we have been temporarily blinded. Temporarily, the light's coming back. The light's coming back! Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved the wretch like me. Once I was lost, but now I was fine. I was blind, but now I see. And then he got like a Rumi quote. I think this is the end of the chapter. He got a Bible reference. All right, let's go. Rumi be dropping some bars, so I'm gonna do the Rumi quote. All right, in silence. A guide has entered his life in silence. His message is only heard in silence. Take a sip of his precious wine and lose yourself. Don't insult the greatness of his love, for he helps those who suffer in silence. Polish the mirror between the breaths. Go with him beyond words. He knows your every deed. He is the one who moves the wheel in heaven. In silence, every thought is buried in your heart. I thought this was going to be something different, but we're here. I'm going to finish. He will reveal them one by one in silence. Turn each of your thoughts into a bird and let them fly into the other world. One is an owl, one is a falcon, one is a crow, each one is different from the others, but they are all the same in silence. To see the moon that cannot be seen, turn your eyes inward and look at yourself in silence. Now, I was like, damn, I knew I was drawn to read that. I'm with it. All right, and he got like a Bible reference. And then, let me see. Is this a Bible? Do I want to read this one? Yeah, no, I don't necessarily care too much. Yeah, I don't necessarily care too much. So what time we at? Oh, we have 50 minutes going? All right, so the next one is the Pyramid Code. We might stop here at 162, and then we'll go into the Pyramid Code. I believe that talks about Albert Einstein and some of his... He got like some quotes from Albert Einstein in here. And he's going to talk about pyramid energy. Ooh, Wizard Yogi. All right, so that's going to be next week. Next week, we're going to start with that. Then he goes into the bandhas. The bandhas are powerful concepts to expand on. Different binds that are in the body. A lot of people in America call them locks. However, a lock has kind of like this idea that you can like put a key in it, lock it, and it's done. And it's just going to be locked. However, that's not how a bandha works. A bind, you have to, because a lock, you just turn it and go. A bind, you got to like hold it. And that's the concept here. You have to consciously hold this. As we're building up that awareness that we're gaining throughout the practice, we have to consciously be able to hold that. So, and maybe make adjustments. Ooh, this is going to be fun. We'll get into the bandhas. I'll probably use this to explain what a bandha is in correlation to our body and how energy flows through it. So with that being said, we're going to stop here, page 162. We'll start back again, 163, chapter 14, Revelations of the Pyramid Code. I want to thank you for coming out. If you're still in the chat, if you have any questions, if you're like, yo, this was some dope shit, go and check out the other playbacks on YouTube, Facebook, and on Instagram. Forgot Instagram's on a little phone over there. And Monday night, again, is the book club. Every Monday night, we'll be flowing, we'll be growing. Tuesday night, we get the asana in. We get the Ashtanga, all 8 limbs. Ashtanga half primary, the flow class. Then Thursday, we have the midday meditations. We'll bring in some of these topics. I feel like we're going to be rocking some Osho shit. Because Osho, that's my guy. He be having some bars in this big book of secrets. So we might bring some, I think we're going to bring some of them up on Sunday, some of those talking points. They got some bars. And then this Saturday, there is no flow because we'll be in Harper's Ferry for the Halloween yoga getaway. Ooh. So, Oh, and Sunday, Elevated Sift and Flow. It'd be great to have you. It'd be great to see you. Great to grow with you. Until next week, until Thursday when I pop back on this thing, have a blessed one. Peace and love, kings, queens, and God.